So, are you there?
Hi, sorry, I'm here, but I had to take Jules grocery shopping, so I'm just putting a few things away, but I'm here.
Okay, when you get a chance, you can put your camera on, but if you want to, otherwise.
Walking back and forth.
But anyway, have you ever heard of a guy named Jim Wallace? He's a Christian evangelical author, a theologian, and really a big fan. I've been a fan of his for a long time. I actually, about 15 years ago, he was in charge of a group called Sojourners, and he had a bumper sticker that I ordered from him. It said, "God is not a Democrat or a Republican,"
Mhm.
and I've always followed him. He's kind of like one of these social justice Christians, who's very concerned about I mean civil rights and stuff like that in the beginning of his career.
Mhm.
He left the church, and but then he came back because he was drawn by Matthew 40, like the least of these, my brethren. But anyway, he wrote this book, and I read it as an audiobook. It's called the False White Gospel, and it talks about how there's a brand of Christian nationalism that's spreading across America. It's huge. And it's actually based, it's kind of like what they call in the Vedas Appa Sampradaya. Appa means, it's not really a genuine form of religion. It's actually a deviation from what Jesus taught because, for example, I put this meme up today. I shared it with one of my on Facebook. Uh, it says, if you get still support the guys who burned 550 tons of food to ash so it didn't accidentally feed 1.5 million children, keep Jesus out of your mouth. You're not a Christian.
Mhm.
I mean, and I put in the beginning of that Matthew 40 through 45, which is a quote from the Bible that says, Jesus is talking about, like, how do you get into heaven? And he said, then I shall say to answer them, saying, Lord, when we saw thee and on hungered, when shall he answer them, saying, quote, verily I say unto you, inasmuch as you did not unto the least of these, my brethren, you did not to me. In other words, if you don't treat people, uh, you know, well, if you don't feed them and when or give them water when they're thirsty, or visit them when they're in prison, or clothe them when they're naked, you do that to Christ. So that's why I like about Christianity. I mean, the same thing is true for like our tradition, because it says before you eat, a householder or somebody who's a Christian conscious householder, you're supposed to go out of the door and ask three times, is there any hungry man? Is there any hungry man? Is there any hungry man? And if nobody comes, then you can eat. But that's the that's a principle, it just it's about caring for other people, We have to care. We can't just like think that we're the only ones that are on this planet, and the world revolves around us. That's not
Mhm.
right. I mean, Christ didn't want that, and neither did Krishna. Krishna said you have equal vision and see Christ and Krishna in every living entity. And if you worship that form of God within every living entity, that's the best way to worship Krishna, actually, because it's true. And the only way to approach God is through his parts and parcels. You can't really see him, but you can serve the servant of the servant of the servant. And then, that's what our constitutional position is. And then we can actually come to to the point where we're serving God because Christ, even Krishna told Arjuna, those who claim to be my servant, they're not my servant. Those who claim to be the servant of my servant, that is my servant. So, but the old idea of Imago Dei is, what's his name? Jim Wallace. He wrote a whole chapter on it. And he said, he was very upset about the immigration policies of this administration. Hey, there you
Yeah.
go. And he was saying, you know, uh, if you discriminate on somebody just on the basis of their skin color, we are all created in God's image, right? Doesn't matter if we're blue and brown or yellow or whatever color we are. We are a child of God. So it's not just a matter uh, of politics now. It's a matter of if you're denying voting rights or any kind of like equal justice under the law to any living entity just on the basis of his skin color, that is an offense to God himself. So it's a religious principle, imago Dei. So that's what it means. And it goes beyond politics. I mean, Krishna, even Prabhupada said Krishna has two arms. He created us in his image.
Hmm.
So, that's the original form of God. I mean, he also has a Vishnu
The
form where he has four
universal, yeah,
arms.
there's like a universal form too
And there's
that,
a universal form. He has millions of how, but that's not even a real form. That's actually a material form. It's not, and Arjuna didn't even want to see it. He
yeah,
was
I don't
afraid.
understand the purpose, like what purpose does a universal form serve? It's like for people who can't understand
Well,
the actual
actually,
form.
it's actually recommended for people who can't understand the idea of God, like one little tiny person, who's shaped like us, they can't conceive of this person created this whole universe and they can't understand that. So if they actually worship the universe, that gives them a stepping stone. You see the planet, just like that background in back of you. You see the trees. The trees are like the hairs on Krishna's body,
Right.
and then the rocks are like the bones. And you're just comparing the universe like that. And then you can, Krishna says in the Gita, I am the light of the sun and the moon, I'm the taste of water, and that all these things are universal attributes. So if you think like that, even an alcoholic could become a God conscious if he's thinking the taste of this wine is actually Krishna. He could actually become a devotee because he's thinking that he's reminding himself of Krishna every time he takes a drink. So that's pretty amazing. Usually, I mean, that's not recommended though,
Yeah.
They don't talk about that in the AA classes. So, where's your kitty?
I'm in my parents' house
Oh,
today.
you are. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So she's at home. I'll be there soon.
Yep,
Mm,
she'll be okay. Cats are
I'll
so.
sh Yeah, next time we meet, I'll pick her up and I'll
Now, what's
show
her
her
name again? I forget.
Isis.
Oh, right. Yeah. That's an
Isis.
Egyptian goddess, right?
Yes, Isis Ma'at.
Yeah. Not the terrorists.
No, no, Isis Ma'at. Like Isis, which is like the high priestess.
Yeah. There's a lot of Egyptian, like we used to have Siamese cats. You never heard of Siamese?
Hmm.
Yeah, Siamese, they're like brown and a dark brown, but
Yes.
distinctive meow. But they're
Freemasons,
Egyptian cats too. They used to.
Freemasons were into Egyptology. FYI,
What's that?
I said the Freemasons were all about Egypt, ancient Egyptology. They were really into it.
Yeah, yeah. But they used to worship cats. I mean, they had like idols of cats. I guess Isis was one of them.
That's right.
Yeah. So anyway, we're
She's
going to start
Himalayan.
here. Happiness in Krishna consciousness. Śrīla Rūpa
Okay.
Gosvāmī has analyzed different sources of happiness. He's divided happiness into three categories, which are number one, happiness derived from material enjoyment. Number two, happiness derived by identifying oneself with the Supreme Brahman. And number three, happiness derived from Krishna consciousness. Go ahead, you can read them.
Me? Okay. In the Tantra Shastra, Lord Shiva speaks to his wife Sati in this way. My dear wife, a person who has surrendered himself at the lotus feet of Govinda and who has thus developed pure Krishna consciousness can be very easily awarded all the perfections desired by the impersonalists, and beyond this, he can enjoy the happiness achieved by the pure devotees. Happiness,
Yeah,
more?
yeah.
Okay. Happiness derived from pure devotional service is the highest because it's eternal. The happiness derived from material perfection or understanding oneself to be Brahman is inferior because it's temporary. There is no preventing one's falling down from material happiness, and there is even every chance of falling down from the spiritual happiness derived by identifying oneself with the impersonal Brahman.
It has been seen that great Mayavadi impersonalist sannyasis, very highly educated, almost realized souls, may sometimes take to political activities or to social welfare activities. The reason is that they actually do not derive any ultimate transcendental happiness in the impersonal understanding and therefore must come down to the material platform to take to such mundane affairs. There are many instances, especially in India, where these Mayavadi sannyasis descend to the material platform again. But a person who is fully in Krishna consciousness will never return to any sort of material platform. However alluring and attractive they may be, he always knows that no material welfare activities can compare to the spiritual activity of Krishna consciousness. When he's talking about material, welfare activities. Oh, okay. Hemang Skinner. Hey, Hemang. You there?
Yeah, Hare Krishna. I didn't
Hare
realize I was
Krishna. Glad to
muted.
see you. You can there you are.
There we go.
How are you doing?
Ah,
You just
doing.
come back from the shelter?
Yeah, and then I was originally planning to take the direct route bus, but I didn't have enough time. I was like, I'm not gonna try to run. Yeah. So I got different bus route. Yep, now I'm back.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
All right. Well, thank you for joining us.
Thank
We're
you.
we're reading from the first chapter now. Um, Actually, you can go ahead and read this one here. The Mystic Perfections.
Okay. One second. There we go. The mystic perfections achieved by actually successful yogis are 8 in number. Anima Siddhi refers to the power by which one can become so small that he can enter into a stone. Modern scientific improvements also enable us to enter into stone because they provide for excavating so many subways penetrating the hills, etc. So Anima Siddhi, the mystic perfection of trying to enter into stone, has also been achieved by material science. Similarly, all of the yoga siddhis or perfectionists are material arts. For example, in one yoga siddhi, there is a development of the power to become so light that one can float in the air on water. That is also being performed by modern scientists. They are flying in the air, they're flying on the surface of water, and they're traveling under the water.
Yes.
That's
You don't
that's
need any
first.
material, you don't need any of these yogic cities. The scientists are already doing all that stuff.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it's not really, all these materialistic perfections, that you could walk on the water, you could enter a stone, you can actually grab something. You can grab with you can take something. Property city is you can, like, say, if you wanted something in another place, you could grab it and bring it to your place.
Yeah,
And
I don't understand that whole flying and walk on water. Is that's not actually possible yet, is it? Or
oh yeah, it's possible. There's yogis that can actually travel through the mystic airway, that like they'll go in the Himalaya, they'll go in India, they dip into the water and they come up in the Himalayas or someplace. They go through the waterways. Or there are other ways that they can go, but it's a subtle mystic process. It's a material perfection. It's not spiritual. I mean, of course, a yogi, if you're spiritual, you can go all the way to spiritual world because there's no encumbrance.
yeah, I
But
remember like
there's
when
the different planets, like there's a planet called Siddhaloka, where the inhabitants of that planet can go anywhere, anytime, in no time flat. In other words, like Narada Muni, he's like a transcendental spaceman.
oh yeah.
Travel anywhere. He can even go to the spiritual world just by his will. And so he doesn't need any kind of vehicle. Hey, so that it is possible, but these are all material perfections. It doesn't have anything to do with spiritual perfection.
Okay. I remember when briefly it was like Sage Brigu had like kicked Vishnu's chest while he was
Yeah,
sleeping.
he had to they were having a discussion, all these different sages, and this was like at the beginning of time, or like real early after the creation. And
Ah,
sages were trying to figure out which demigod or which personality was the best.
mm,
And was it Shiva, was it Brahma, or was it Vishnu? And so Brigamuni, he had that ability to go anywhere. And so Vishnu or Lord Shiva was his brother, and he was the son of Brahma. He was like one of the first created beings by Brahma. And so he went to those two. And then he went all the way to the spiritual world because, he's a very powerful personality. I mean, being the son of Brahma, you get all kinds of mystic perfections if you're the son of one of the first sons of Brahma. He created all kinds of sages in the beginning of the creation, and so
yeah.
they figured that out. And the reason why we're all poor right now is because of Brigamuni. I blame him. All the devotees are very, very poor because he kicked, with Lord Shiva, he ignored him, or he just actually well, Lord Brahma, he didn't pay obeisances to him, and Lord Brahma became angry, but he controlled his mind. And then with Lord Shiva, he said, "Get away from me. You're like dirty. You hang out in the crematoriums. Your body's full of ashes. So you get away from me. I don't even want to touch you." He went to embrace him, and he didn't. And he got so angry that his sati actually had to calm him down. Otherwise, he would have killed him. But then Vishnu, those are like a mental offense and a corporal offense and a vocal offense, and that was pretty. Those are two pretty serious offenses, for great demigods like that.
Oh
But
yeah.
he went up to
What's
Vishnu's place, and Vishnu was residing on was like on his bed with Lakshmi, and he went up to him and kicked him right in the chest. And Vishnu said, "My dear sir, I didn't see you coming in. My chest is very hard. You must have hurt your foot. I'm so sorry."
Oh.
And
Yeah, I am the bottom of his foot.
funny, and Vishnu wasn't offended, but Lakshmi was.
Oh
And
yeah.
she cursed all the devotees. Okay, they will never have any money.
Wow.
The devotees of Lord Shiva, they have tons of money, but Vishnu's devotees, not so much. They're always poor, which is actually kind of a blessing. But
So I did want to ask, you said evocal, is that the word you used?
like it was an offense. Like he
Yep.
told Shiva he didn't want to touch him, and that's like a vocal offense. I don't know what you'd call that, like
Ah, verbal
insult,
offense. Yeah.
verbal offense, and then
Okay.
the offense against Lord Vishnu, though, that was a corporal offense. You don't touch Lord Vishnu. You don't kick him in the chest. That's
Yeah.
offensive. That's why I used to I misunderstood the lyrics of the Canadian anthem.
Uh,
When they had before a hockey game, my wife watches hockey, and it says, "Oh Canada, we stand on guard through thee," and I used to misinterpret it like saying, "We stand on God for thee." You don't stand on God. That would be offensive.
most
You
certainly.
stand on guard, not God. So that's misinterpreted lyrics, misheard lyrics. I don't know if Zoe's going to join us, so I'm just going to read the next paragraph here. Modern scientists have manufactured nuclear weapons with which they can destroy an insignificant part of this planet, but by the yoga city known as Isita, one can create or destroy an entire planet simply at will. Like those early transcendentalists, Walden, who wrote Walden, his name is Henry David Thoreau. He said, if you believe in Vishnu, you can actually eat the entire earth. So, as this says that you could create or destroy an entire planet simply at will. Another perfection is called Vasita. And by this perfection, one can bring anyone under his control. That's kind of like hypnosis. You can, or
Yeah, or
like a Jedi mind trick.
manipulation,
A Jedi mind trick means, there's no droids here, move along. And
mind control. Yeah.
you just move along, you don't do
Oh,
anything. And then let's see. Um, this kind of hypnotism is almost irresistible. Sometimes it's found that a yogi who may have attained a little perfection in Vasita mystic power comes out among the people and speaks all sorts of nonsense, controls their minds, exploits them, takes their money, and then goes away. You want to read,
Okay.
Alyssa?
Yeah, there is another mystic perfection, which is known as prakamya magic. By this prakamya power, one can achieve anything he likes. For example, one can make water enter into his eye and then again come out from within the eye. Simply by his will, he can perform such wonderful activities. The highest perfection of mystic power is called Vasayita. This is also magic, but whereas the Prakamya power acts to create wonderful effects within the scope of nature, Kama Vasayita permits one to contradict nature. In other words, to do the impossible. Of course, one can derive great amounts of temporary happiness by achieving such yogic materialistic perfections.
Go ahead. Keep reading.
Okay. Foolishly, people who are enamored of the glimmer of modern materialistic advancement are thinking that the Krishna consciousness movement is for less intelligent men. I am better off being busy with my material comforts, maintaining a nice apartment, family, and sex life. These people do not know that at any moment they can be kicked out of their material situation. Due to ignorance, they do not know real life is eternal. The temporary comforts of the body are not the goal of life, and it is due only to darkest ignorance that people become enamored of the glimmering advancement of material comforts. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakura has therefore said that the advancement of material knowledge renders a person more foolish because it causes one to forget his real identity by its glimmer. This is doom for him because this human form of life is meant for getting out of material contamination. By the advancement of material knowledge, people are becoming more and more entangled in material existence. They have no hope of being liberated from this catastrophe.
Yeah, we have to like educate people because there is a way out, you know. Can you read, Zoe, or no?
Yes, I can.
Oh, okay.
Hold
Yeah,
on.
read the
Krishna, so.
two paragraphs. Sorry, Bhakti is
Right. Okay, wait.
your camera on.
Yeah, wait. Hold on.
You got it.
There it is. Okay.
Hey, there you
So, yeah, okay. In the Hari Bhakti Sadhodaya, it is stated that Prahlada Maharaja, a great devotee of the Lord, prayed to Nrsimha Deva, the half lion, half man incarnation, as follows: My dear Lord, I repeatedly pray unto your lotus feet that I may simply be strong in devotional service. I simply pray that Krishna consciousness may be strong and steady, because happiness is derived out of Krishna consciousness, and devotional service is so powerful that with it one can have all the other perfections of religiousness, economic development, sense gratification, even the attainment of liberation from material existence. Actually, a pure devotee does not aspire after any of these perfections because the happiness derived from devotional service in Krishna consciousness is so transcendental and so unlimited that no other happiness can compare to it. It is said that even one drop of happiness in Krishna consciousness stands beyond comparison with an ocean of happiness derived from any other activity. Thus, any person who has developed even a little quality of pure devotional service can very easily kick out all the other kinds of happiness derived from religiousness, economic development, and sense gratification, liberation.
Yeah, it's like if you serve Krishna, then all the personified um, religiousness, economic development, sense gratification, liberation, they wait on you with folded hands. They're waiting to serve you. So all these other variations of happiness, so-called happiness, are automatically achieved with Krishna consciousness without any endeavor. So why wouldn't you take to Krishna? It says there's a verse that goes like, if you want material happiness, or if you don't want anything, if you want spiritual happiness, in all cases, worship Krishna because you get everything. Why not worship Krishna? You know, just you can get, if you want material benediction, worship Krishna. If you don't want anything, worship Krishna. You know, it's all the same because it will achieve whatever you want. Um, that will give you the result that you're looking for. Krishna fulfills the desires of everyone. Go ahead, Alyssa. Or wait, it's Hemang. This is the one that says there was a great devotee, Lord Chaitanya.
Yep. There was a great devotee of Lord Chaitanya known as Kolavika Sridhara, who was a very poor man. He was doing a small business selling cups made from the leaves of plantain trees, and his income was almost nothing. Still, he was spending 50% of his small income on the worship of the Gangas, and with the other 50%, he was somehow living. Lord Chaitanya once revealed himself to this confidential devotee, Kolavika Sridhara, and offered him any opulence he liked. But Sridhara informed the Lord that he didn't want any material opulence. He was quite happy in his present position and wanted only to gain unflinching faith and devotion unto the lotus feet of Lord Chaitanya. That is the position of pure devotees. If they can be engaged 24 hours each day in devotional service, they do not want anything else. Not even the happiness of liberation or of becoming one with the Supreme.
Lord Chaitanya used to visit him all the time, Kulvesha Sridhar, and he would bother him. This was when Lord Chaitanya was like a teenager. He was like a big Sanskrit or a grammarian, and he would go and bother Kulvesha Sridhar. He'd say, "Look, I know you're rich. I know you have opulence," but he was living in a shack. He was selling like plantain leaves that you make into a cup. I mean, leaves are everywhere, and so he was he didn't have any money. His hut was like full of holes, and the rain would come in on his head, and he didn't have any money at all. But Lord Chaitanya would say, "I actually know you're a rich man. You're hiding it." And so he would bother him and harass him, and then he would barter with Kulavich Sridhar and buy some, and he would like take his cups and then just walk away. He said, "Well, how am I going to worship the Gandhis?" And he said, "I don't care. You're a thief," And he just walked away from Kulavich Sridhar and didn't even pay him, you know. But then when Lord Chaitanya was revealing his form of Vishnu to all the devotees, he called for Kulavich Sridhar, and he asked him, what do you want? I'll give you anything you want because I'm God. And so Kulavich Sridhar, I just want you to come and bother me some more in my hut. I derive my pleasure from you coming to me and arguing with me, and from Lord Chaitanya's interactions as a puffed up brahmana that was engaged in teaching his students about grammar. And he was very, very proud of his knowledge back then, before he became really a full-fledged devotee after he met his spiritual master. Everybody was hoping that he would become that because he was so beautiful and so knowledgeable. He was like he could defeat anybody with his uh, um, argument and reason, and he did. Even though he was a young man, very young.
Oh, wow.
Zoe, you ready to read? Can you read
Yes, I can.
in the Narada Pancharatra?
Yeah, in the Narada Panchartra, it is also said that any person who has developed even a small amount of devotional service doesn't care a fig for any kind of happiness derived from religiousness, economic development, sense gratification, and 5 kinds of liberation. Any kind of happiness derived from religiousness, economic development, liberation, or sense gratification cannot even dare to enter into the heart of a pure devotee. It is stated that as the personal attendants and maidservants of a queen follow the queen with all respect and obeisances, similarly, the joys of religiousness, economic development, sense gratification, liberation follow the devotional service of the Lord. In other words, a pure devotee does not lack any kind of happiness derived from any source. He does not want anything but service to Krishna. But if he should have another desire, the Lord fulfills this without the devotee's asking.
Yeah, that's what I meant by that thing. Like the maid servants follow the queen, and they're wait on the queen. So all these things, the joys of religiousness, economic development, sense gratification, liberation personified, follow the devotee and wait with folded hands to serve them. And therefore, it doesn't lack anything. The devotee doesn't lack any kind of happiness, and whatever he wants he doesn't want anything except Krishna's pleasure, but he gets all of these things. If he does want anything, he'll get it. Economic development, sense gratification, liberation, as long as it doesn't hamper his devotional service, he can get whatever he wants. Just like that one devotee who was just a boy, and he was denied sitting on the lap of his king father, and his mother chastised him because he was his like stepmother, and he said, "You'll never sit on the lap of your father because you weren't born of me." And the little boy, Dhruva Maharaj, he was offended, and he said, "How do you know?" He cried to his mother, and his mother told him, "Look, it's true. I mean, she's the favorite queen, and so you probably never sit on the lap of your father." And said, "Well, I want a kingdom bigger than my father. I want to, How do I get that? I said, well, you'd have to ask God for that. So, okay, where do I find God? Well, he's in the forest. The devotees and meditators, they go to the forest to find God. And so he went to the forest. And Narada Muni could see what it was. He's like the transcendental spaceman, so he knows all the living entities and what they're doing. And Krishna probably told him, "Look, this boy is very determined. You go and talk to him." And so he tried to discourage him from finding God, but he said, "Get out of my way. I'm going to find God." He was very determined. And so he said, "If you can instruct me how to find God, then I'll listen to you. Otherwise, I'm doing something else. I'm busy. Don't bother me." And so Narada Muni taught him the mantra, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, and he told him to chant that mantra. And he saw God. He was actually standing on one foot. He wasn't eating anything. It was like eating like leaves, and then he wasn't even eating leaves. He was like just eating air. And then he Krishna appeared before him and said, "What do you want?" And Dhruva said, "I was searching for a broken piece of glass." He wanted a kingdom bigger than his father because he was very offended. He was like a Kshatriya. Kshatriya is like easily offended. He was angry. And so he wanted a kingdom even bigger than his father's. And so um, he told Vishnu, he said, "I was searching for a broken piece of glass, but I found the most valuable gem in you. I don't want anything." And so Vishnu gave him the benediction that you can have a kingdom bigger than your father's, and actually I will serve you. He gave him the pole star, Dhruva Loka, which is beyond this material world. All the other planets rotate around the pole star, and Krishna serves him as a personal servant, his doorkeeper. And so that way he was given something even greater than he can even imagine. But he didn't even want it after he saw Krishna because it fulfilled all his desires. So that's why if you desire Krishna, he'll give you whatever you want. There's also a story about Krishna when he was a little boy. They'd have fruit vendors that go through the Vrindavan village, and there was one fruit vendor. And he'd come and get your fruit, and Krishna, he wanted to barter with the fruit vendor, and so he picked up with his little hand. He was only like 4 or 5 years old, and he picked up some grains and he took it, and all the grains were falling out of his hand, so he didn't have enough to barter with. But the fruit vendor thought that he was really cute, and
Mm.
so she filled up his basket full of fruits. And so even though he didn't have half of the grains fell down on the ground, and then when she looked at her basket again, it was filled with jewels and gold.
Ah, yes.
And so that's what happens. If you reciprocate with Krishna, if you please Krishna, he'll give you hundreds of times more than what you could even imagine. So, Alyssa, you want to read the rareness of pure devotional
Quick
service?
question, Prabhuji.
Okay.
What was the name of the loka you said it was?
The name of the what?
The world, the loka, around which all the other worlds revolve around.
Polestar. Polestar it's called, I'm not sure what the name of it is in scientific terminology, but all the other stars rotate around the pole star.
Ah, okay.
If you look at the sky, if you like take a time-lapse photography and you point it at the pole star, all the other stars will turn in a circle and there'll be like streaks in a circle around the pole star. It's
And
called,
who was given that?
what's that?
Who was given the pole star? Was a gift?
Dhruva Loka, the little boy,
Dhruva.
wanted
Dhruva
a
Loka.
kingdom bigger than his father's. He gave him an eternal kingdom. That planet is not destroyed when everything in the universe is destroyed. That planet is not destroyed. So it's actually kind of a spiritual planet. And Lord Vishnu became his doorman on that planet. I mean, that's how Krishna reciprocates with his devotees. So go ahead, Zoe. You want to read? We got a little bit
wait.
of time left here.
Wait, who's up? Is it Alyssa or is it me? I don't know.
Okay,
Oh, yeah.
listen, I'm sorry.
Yep.
Okay. All right. In the preliminary phase of spiritual life, there are different kinds of austerities, penances, and similar processes for attaining self-realization. However, even if an executor of these processes is without any material desire, he still cannot achieve devotional service. And aspiring by oneself alone to achieve devotional service is also not very hopeful because Krishna does not agree to award devotional service to merely anyone. Krishna can easily offer a person material happiness or even liberation, but he does not agree very easily to award a person engagement in his devotional service. Devotional service can, in fact, be attained only through the mercy of a pure devotee. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita, it is said, by the mercy of the spiritual master who is a pure devotee, and by the mercy of Krishna, one can achieve the platform of devotional service. There is no other way.
Zoe, you want to read the next one? We only got a few minutes
Yep.
left.
The rarity of devotional service is also confirmed in the Tantra Shastra, where Lord Shiva says to Sati, "My dear Sati, if one is a very fine philosopher analyzing the different processes of knowledge, he can achieve liberation from the material entanglement. By performance of the ritualistic sacrifices recommended in the Vedas, one can be elevated to the platform of pious activities and thereby enjoy the material comforts of life to the fullest extent. But all such endeavors can hardly offer anyone devotional service to the Lord, not even if one tries for it by such processes for many, many thousands of births."
Okay, well, I think we're going to stop here unless somebody has some questions. So we're supposed to stop like
They were talking about is that part of the animal sacrifice that they were talking about?
Animal sacrifice.
sacrifice.
By
What is
performance of the ritualistic sacrifices
kind
that are
of
in the Vedas.
there's a whole section of the Vedas called the Karma Mimamsa section, and by that one can gain elevation to the higher planets. Like, say, if you want to live on like another higher planet where you live like tens of thousands of years and drink soma juice on the moon or whatever, you can do that. There's a verse in the Bhagavad Gita goes like Yanti Deva Varta Devan, which means if you want to go to a particular planet, you just worship the demigod of that particular planet and you can go there. You have to
These
know.
are the celestial abodes, of course.
What's that?
These are all celestial abodes of material abodes.
Yeah, well, you can go to the sun planet, you can go to the moon planet. Yeah, they're all material. And it also says in the Bhagavad Gita, my guru's favorite verse was Abrahma Bhuvana Loka Punarvartin. He very rarely quoted a Sanskrit verse, but he always used to say that Sanskrit verse, and it means from the highest planet in the material world down to the lowest, all are places of misery wherein repeated birth and death take place. So why would you actually go to some, like some temporary place? It's like a prison house. You have to take birth again, and you have to go undergo birth, death, old age, and disease. And so why would you do that? I mean, it's like you get a better prison cell, but it's still a prison cell where you have to undergo all these miseries. So why would you do that? It's stupid. So get out of the material world altogether and worship Vishnu, because Vishnu is the only person that can actually award liberation. None of these demigods can worship. None of these demigods. I mean, they're different prescriptions of the Vedas to attain a higher planet if you want that. There's different prescriptions. If you want a wife, you worship Uma. If you want material opulence, you worship this one. If you want freedom from disease, you worship the sun. There's so many different kinds of recommendations, but these are all temporary. So a real smart person, though, will just want to get the hell out of this place altogether.
Yeah, get out of the material realm, go to the God's world,
leave it all behind, because everything is temporary, and young people don't realize it very much, but because they're too busy enjoying, but they could die at any moment and then they'd have to take birth again. So everybody should be aware that this material world is dukkhalayam ashashvatam. Like there was this one comedian that used to give a comedy bit in New Vrindavan back in 2015 or 16. I taped him and he was talking about how sometimes devotees think that material world will be a good place, and his name he goes by the moniker Yama Das Brahmachari. He pretends like he's like a real Paka devotee, wears a Prabhupada hat, plays guitar. He used to actually be in a band called Shelter, but he became a comedian and he's really, really funny. But he said, sometimes devotees think I will make world a better place. He speaks with this like pseudo-European accent, so I'd have to actually use closed captioning and put I'd have to put his words because it's kind of hard to understand. He said, "I will make the world a better place. I will vote for Bernie." And he says, "But no." He said, "Krishna has certified this world, dukkhalayam ashashvatam. It's temporary and miserable. And so if you try to make a world better place by this or that material method, it's like putting up one of those pine fresheners in hell." And so, you can't improve the material world. It's a place of birth and death. So better to get out of the material world. And even a devotee really doesn't even care if he's in the material world or not. As long as he can serve Krishna, wherever he goes, wherever he is, he just wants to serve, and then he's happy. It doesn't matter if he's in heaven or in hell. So anyway, does anybody have any other questions or
There's a saying, change yourself, change the world, or something like that.
yeah. Well, changing that was actually, I think that was Gandhi that said that, be the change do you
Yeah.
want in the world? I mean, we can change the world, but the only good thing, we can't do it by material manipulation. Like they try to create peace in the world, at the United Nations and stuff, but they don't have a common cause. The common cause is understanding that Krishna is the supreme master of everything. He owns everything. He's the best well-wishing friend of everyone. And if people realize that, then there would be peace. Otherwise, they're just, trying to vote and manipulate their international relations for their own nationalistic benefit, and they're fighting like cats and dogs. They're just a bunch of cats and dogs. How can there be peace with cats and dogs? So whatever they're doing doesn't do any good at all. Be the change you want, but you have to know how to change the world. And the only problem in the material world, as Prabhupada's spiritual master said, he said the only problem in the world is lack of Krishna consciousness. Because Krishna consciousness, there's a whole chapter in the Science of Self-Realization that Krishna consciousness is a solution to all material problems. He's actually talking to a police chief in Chicago. He said you have to cleanse the heart of the criminals. You have to, by this chanting process, So chanting and prasadam, taking prasadam, anybody can do that. And that's why Prabhupada started this movement and invited people to come. And why would they not come? It's just blissful, That's why it's so popular. And that's why it's spreading all over the world. And it'll continue to spread all over the world for the next 10,000 years. But then after that, it'll be pretty bad. It's just going to go downhill from there. So anyway, it's 7:50. I promised to wrap it up about 7:45 here, usually, especially on a late night like it is tonight. But thank you for attending, all of you.
Thank
And
you, Prabhupada.
Hemang.
Thank you.
Hemang.
Hemang.
Yeah.
Hemang.
Thank
I
you,
gotta
Hare
I
Krishna.
always get it wrong.
Yeah, Hare Krishna. So,
Bye.
Krishna.
See you guys later.
see ya, Alyssa.
Bye bye.
Bye.
Bye.